Welcome to part 4 of the mini golf marble machine build. I'm going to finish the track that starts by wrapping around the back side of the lift. It'll go through a small spiral and then a toilet bowl before reaching the end. First, I start with the small spiral. It'll have a 3/4 turn and pass under itself. I used a piece of wood that had been previously cut out for a barrier. I cut it into 3 parts and glued it back together staggered to make it into a downward spiral. Then, I sanded it smooth. The barrier for the spiral was also made from an old piece that had been cut out. This was also cut into 3 parts to fit nicely with the surface. Once I figured out where it would go, I could figure out how long to make the path that leads into the spiral. I added a small block on the underside of the end to give more of a surface to glue the spiral to. The center of the spiral is made out of a portion of a round wooden dowel. As I glued in the spiral, I made sure not to place it outside of the boundary of the base. A support will hold up this piece, as well as the path that continues right after. I built and put together the hole that is fed by the spiral. When tacking it in, I put it at a level just below the end of the spiral. The connecting path between the spiral and the hole was a bit tricky. I had to start with a piece slightly larger than the space and cut out little bits at a time until I was left with the right size piece. I glued it to the end of the spiral, the support in the middle, and the side of the hole. I added on barriers for that section and gave it a test run. The next portion to work on was the toilet bowl. It's about twice as large as the other holes and will have a ramp before it to give the marble speed on the approach. It's built similarly to other holes, but the bottom guide doesn't take up the entire base because it doesn't need to. Originally, I thought that 2 supports underneath would work fine, but ultimately I decided to add a third. The marbles would have quite a bit of speed going into this hole, so I made the barrier for this one out of 1/2 inch ply, so it'd be a little bit taller. With both holes glued in place, I just needed to build a path between them. The ramp to the toilet bowl is made out of 2 straight pieces and a curve. For the curve, I reused the same wood used for the loop. It worked great before and was easy to work with, so why not? It would be hard to add on barriers for the ramp after gluing it in place, so I opted to build and attach those beforehand. Once it was ready, I glued it in place. There were only a few pieces left to build to finish this track. I started with the barrier around the hole, then the last part of the ramp, then the path before the ramp, and finally the very end piece. And with that, this track is complete. 2 tracks down and 2 to go. I think this marble machine is coming along quite nicely. The 2 finished tracks work well, and there's still enough space to play around with the other 2 tracks. Thanks for watching.